move along to 2021. In the race for governor, we've had some entrants or possible entrants on the Republican side. Let's go to the party that is most likely to win at this stage, and that would be the Democrats. Terry McAuliffe posting huge numbers in his first fundraising efforts, but he's not running yet. He only raised $1.7 million with former executive director of the Democratic Party, Chris Bowling, running the shop there, $1.7 million. He's obviously the front runner. Obviously, those numbers are big. But let's talk about the rest of the field. Jennifer McClellan, Senator, Delegate Jennifer Carroll Foy, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, and Attorney General Mark Herring. Does anyone see any of those candidates beating Terry McAuliffe? Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's interesting. I think Carol Foy is a dark horse. I think she is right for the times. I do think, everyone appreciates an underdog candidate. And once again, if we are talking about winning, McAuliffe may just be raising money to spook everybody, right? And he may wind up just going into a Biden administration if he wins. Carol Foy, I also think, is more of a story and is more personable than McClellan is.
Okay. I think DJ had his hand up, but he was shaking no.
I was half and half. I think one of them. I think either McClellan or Foy can beat McAuliffe. I'd actually be more likely to think it's McClellan because she has more time because she is a state senator. I don't think Fairfax or Herring can do it, and in fact, I would be surprised if Fairfax and Herring actually make it to primary day. If the anti-McAuliffe vote can consolidate around one of them, either McClellan or Foy, then it is possible. So long as they're both in the race, McAuliffe will certainly win with a plurality, possibly with the majority. He could beat McClellan or Foy one-on-one, but it's not a guarantee by any means.
Matt?
Jennifer McClellan is my state senator. She's done a fantastic job with constituent service down in this area. So she, I think she could be a likely person. But I would also like to put out there the goodwill that Mark Herring built within the party of the Democratic Party when he opted not to, challenge Northam 4 years ago. And he's built up a lot of good rapport over the last 8 years as Attorney General, taking on a lot of Democratic causes. And I think he would be the one that would take on Terry McAuliffe and actually do quite well, because I think they could really spar with each other. And I think Herring is the one that could spar the best.
Anybody else in this realm that hasn't spoken yet, Brian?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Merle.
Yeah, well, I would just say very quickly, I don't think McClellan wants to be governor again. I think he'd much rather be in the cabinet than the Biden cabinet. That would be more appealing to him. Not to mention it would be more of an opportunity to position himself for president, which I think he'd much rather be than governor of Virginia for a second time. As for Justin Fairfax, no. He has squandered any possible name recognition that his office has given him the opportunity to build. I just don't see him having a base. I agree with the dark horse candidates. I think they've got a great shot. I am waiting with bated breath to see who the Republicans are going to push forward.
Brian.
One thing to keep in mind.
Go
ahead,
Brian. Brian, then DJ.
Go ahead, Brian.
I think, last week we talked about this, and I said I thought that McAuliffe would probably want a spot in the cabinet. And the more I think about it, and then seeing the numbers that he started to raise again, I could see that the desire on his part to want to be, at least in the modern era, the first governor to get reelected twice with separate terms. So I can see that. My question is going to be, what is the appetite of the party, the Democratic Party, to pick someone who is viewed as someone in the establishment? And I've been very carefully monitoring nationally the fights that people have been having in the primary battles. We've seen potentially Elliot Engel in New York losing his seat. We saw another Democrat lose their primary. I mean, obviously the AOC thing last year is a huge deal, and everybody's paying attention to that still. I don't know if the party wants to go with somebody that could be arguably argued as a retread. I think maybe they want some fresh blood. And frankly, Senator McClellan, in my opinion, would be the best, or at least the most formidable person for us to run against, because she has the experience, she's well known, She's got a good constituency, and her identity fits the times right now. So I think, unfortunately for us, if she is the nominee, I think we have a very tough shot, a very tough time with her next year.
Well, either way, the Republicans are going to have a difficult time in 2021 just with the way the state has been trending lately.
Right.
And the Republicans can't seem to agree on they couldn't agree on a condiment for a hot dog at this stage of the game without
That's absolutely true, Chris.
without an absolute mayhem. We'll get to that later, but I mean, keep losing. Just keep digging, fellas. I mean, what the hell are they doing?
Hey,
You know.
Chris.
Yeah, Andrea.
I have one little point. I don't know exactly the best candidates on the Democratic side, but I think for either side, there's a good chance that there are people thinking about it that haven't mentioned it yet, that haven't come forward yet.
But we're staying with the Democratic candidates right now that have been at least expressing an interest or raising money for it. Every single one that we mentioned has said that they're looking at it or running. I think McAuliffe is the best position in a five-way race. I don't think it's even close because he's going to have a lot of support. He's got the people he's raising money from show where his support's going to come from. I think he's going to do it in a way that doesn't alienate the significant coalitions that the Democratic Party is consisted of. Let's jump down to Lieutenant Governor. Those mentioned, Paul Goldman.
Hang on a second, Chris. One thing I think we also need to consider is that we've talked about cabinet appointments and how they may affect the governor's races. We have to consider the possibility that a Biden cabinet appointees might open up one or maybe, well, at least one, possibly both Senate seats. You know, Mark Warner's been in the Senate for 12 years. Tim Kaine has been there for 8 years. You know, one or both of them might want to consider making a jump to the Biden cabinet, and then we can all have a discussion about who Governor Northam may pick to succeed them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, DJ, because I think Mark Warner would be the perfect director of national intelligence. And the dark horse candidate for governor, Lee Carter, I think he could pull a lot of the Bernie Sanders vote.
Let me explain to you why you're both, all y'all are wrong on Warner and Kaine going into the administration. Warner and Kaine are not going to go to the administration.
I agree. Zero chance.
Zero chance. Look,
way.
white middle-aged men are not going to get pulled into the administration. There's just, that's not how the Democrats can create their cabinets. They're going to have a very diverse cabinet. They're going to look like America, and they're going to have, and that's just stop. It's not going to happen.
If one white guy is allowed in, though, it's Terry
I don't see that either.
for commerce.
I don't think he wants it. I mean, look, Chris is absolutely right. I mean, look, bottom line is, look at the cabinet picks this time around. Look at the cabinet picks from the Democrats the last time around. How many senators did they pick up? I can't, other than Jeff Sessions with Trump, I can't, nobody's going to leave a seat like that. Nobody's going to leave that kind of power to go in to run an agency for a couple of years at the most. Why would you give that up? You know, even Sessions wants to go back and get it. I just don't see it.
It's a bad job.
It's not.
Those are not good jobs.
Yeah, it's not a fun job to be a cabinet secretary. Trust me.
So let's go to Lieutenant Governor Paul Goldman, Delegate Hala Ayala, and Elizabeth Guzman are names that have been not just floated but are out there beating the bushes. Guzman was I think she was elected to DNC. Thoughts there, Mike?
I think Guzman would be the smart pick. I think she's pretty talented. And especially if they want to really run a diverse ticket, especially with, I do think, if it isn't McAuliffe blowing everybody out of the water, if a black woman's at the top of the ticket and a Hispanic woman's lieutenant governor, I think that's going to be very powerful. Also, for AG, I think Herring's going to stay put. So there will be one old white guy, and that will be him.
Yeah, I just would like to know what is going on in Prince William County that everyone here thinks that they should be running for lieutenant governor. I mean, this is like what, our fourth and fifth candidates in the last few years to run.
I would much rather have Lee Carter get smoked in a statewide statewide nomination contest than have to deal with him for another 2 years. And I say that as a Democrat.
Yeah, that was not Lee Carter.
Anyone else on LG? Nothing? I think Hala Ayala is a much better statewide candidate of the three, but that doesn't mean they're going to coming out of the nomination showing that. Attorney General, does Mark Herring drop back? Also have Delegate Jay Jones and Henrico Prosecutor Shannon Taylor. What do you think there?
Shannon Taylor has baggage.
Like
From
American Tourister or overnight bag? What do you got?
I would say Ginny and Burke baggage, and the ladies will and the husbands, not to be sexist here. I think the way she ended up with the Henrico prosecutors, with that election, not that she anything against her. You mentioned the name, and the first thing that comes to my mind is baggage.
Okay, still for the baggage.
As the Henrico resident, I think Shannon Taylor is one sharp candidate. I think if you look at the 3 elections that she's already won, she's beat a diverse grouping of opponents, and she just made a new office, Deputy Attorney General, looking into policing, and I think that would play over very well in a statewide race in the Democratic primary field. The new position that she created within her Commonwealth's Attorney Office with police and accountability, but I think she's sharp. I think she will have a lot of support from the Henrico Democratic delegation and beyond. And I think she would actually do very well.
Anybody else? Brian?
It's Herring's if he wants it.
The question is, does he want it? And how that's going to play into the gubernatorial race, I think, plays for Terry McAuliffe.
I think he has been, as I said last week, he's probably been the most political AG in a while. And I don't think that's by accident. So I would be surprised if he decided that now was the time for him to run for governor. I think he's a young guy. He's got time. He can do AG another term and then put himself in a better position, in a better environment.
Are most of these people running for really 2025 against Terry?
I think so.
I mean, he did.
I think they're all looking for it.
He finished second in 2009.
I mean, honestly, a lot of this is politics. You guys know this. It's as much being in the right place at the right time as it is anything else. And I think, if you got to wait and pull the trigger on the opportunity when it seems best, I think right now is probably not the best time for somebody like him to run for governor. But it could be in 4 years. So why not stay in a job that you can win and bide your time and make sure you're not going to jump the gun on an opportunity and lose everything you got.
Okay. Final words on AG. Who's it going to be? Jones, Taylor, or Herring?
I say Herring.
Herring.
Taylor.
Jones, Taylor, Herring, the divided camp there. Okay. Let's jump over to the GOP since they're getting along so well these days. They've got a great message going on. Let's talk about the gubernatorial race. Amanda Chase's numbers were so good for fundraising, she's going to share them in 2 weeks. That's always a good sign. What Brian gets that. Some more interesting comments. She called the people who are tearing down the statues and monuments, she compared them to the Taliban and Al Qaeda.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
I don't think people who lost friends and family on 9/11 are going to take up that comparison too easily, nor should Virginians. But let's talk about the race for governor. Have mentioned State Senator Amanda Chase, who underperformed her district in the last election. I think she came down like 17 points, even though she thinks she won by double digits. She won 4 years ago in a Republican year by 27. So that was quite a come down. Pete Snyder, I interviewed former State Senator Bill Carrico, mentioned lately have been State Senator Emmett Hanger, former Lieutenant Governor Bill Bowling, Congressman Rob Whitman, and Congressman Denver Riggleman. Thoughts there? Andrea, then Mike.
I don't think that Amanda Chase has anywhere near what it takes to be a governor. But I think that if she were to even get the nomination, I think that any chance she may have of winning will be tied very closely to how well Trump does. I think that she tries to emulate that type of behavior. And I don't see her winning. I don't see Virginians going for that outside that small base. But I do think that Trump and how well he does will affect it. Will affect
Absolutely.
her
Mike?
chances.
Mike, and then Chris.
So, like so many people have tried to emulate Trump. There's only one Trump, and it only works for him. Copycats always crash and burn. I think for the governor's race for the Republicans, Pete Snyder, especially with the Virginia 30-day fund, is ready to go for action. It is his if he wants it. However, I am afraid with that Amanda Chase wing that they're not going to eventually, they'll probably sit home if he's the nominee. I think also Denver. I think Denver would be a great candidate. I think Denver bridges the divide between Trump, never Trump, unless he runs as an independent for his former seat. I think this would be a triumphant return, and he'd be fantastic. And he's moderate enough to put up a strong fight against maybe not Terry, but a McClellan.
Chris?
I think Amanda Chase I think she's the front runner right now. I mean, look, this is the party that nominated Corey Stewart, and this is the party that just ran Denver out of his seat in a primary. I mean, we've gotten very good at designing nominating contests that cater to a very specific voting base. And I mean, after 2020, it's great that we think like we're thinking of the general, but Republican primary voters have proven time and time again, they do not think about the general. They think they use primaries like a public flogging for people that they don't like. And I think that Amanda Chase, I don't know that she's taking a page out of Trump's playbook. I think she's taking a page out of Corey's playbook, and out of all of the primaries from local races up to congressional, she's seen what happens. And so as great as these other candidates may be, and as formidable candidates they may be in the general, the Republican primary electorate just does not think like that.
Great points. Let's go, Merle, Matt, and Brian, and start off your statement. Whether you think Republicans are going to go convention or primary in June of 21.
That's the question.
Yep.
Merle, Matt, Brian.
Yeah. When I think of Amanda Chase for governor, I think of Bernie Sanders for president. Yeah, she's got a following out there, like the Bernie Bros. But is she going to be the nominee? Well, yeah, anything can happen in Virginia, as Chris has pointed out. There's a lot of nutty stuff that goes on with the guys of the Republican Party of Virginia. None of it very honorable. But governor, no more than Ken Cuccinelli or any of these other Republican candidates that we've had in recent history. I just have not thought about, on the other hand, Emmett Hanger. Excuse me, I'm pardon. What an interesting idea. I'd like more. I hope he pursues it.
Matt?
The key to who our nominee is going to be is how it's chosen, whether it's going to be convention or primary. That is the overarching question. I think in a convention, Amanda Chase wins hands down. I think in a primary, even Chase has a slight advantage just because of who would show up, like the Corey Stewart voter. And a lot depends on what happens with the state central and makeup after the drive-through convention that comes up. That's key, like who's going to be the next chair of RPV. But I think Chase right now has the inside track because of her trying to be like Corey Stewart and just the way the party has drifted since 2013 and Ken Cuccinelli and Stewart. And that would be my thoughts.
Brian?
I think we're going to have the convention, though, to be honest with you.
Convention. And the reason why I say that is a primary would provide the best possible way for us to get as many Republicans to determine who the nominee is. It's impartial. It can't be gamed by the system or by players. and you have the opportunity for absentee ballots and providing ways to make sure that the most number of Republicans can vote. And that is why it absolutely will not be a fucking primary. Pardon my language. It's not going to be a primary.
Hey, you got me. You just got me.
Look, it's not going to be a primary. I'm sorry. You know,
No.
and that's
We
the
just
thing.
broke new ground. Brian dropped the F-bomb.
I dropped the F-bomb
We
on
haven't
the
done
stream.
that yet.
It's not going to be a primary.
I'm off the hook.
But a
Good
good
job, Brian.
use
That's
of the
good.
F-bomb it was.
But the point is simply, our party will never choose the right thing, and we're always going to do the dumb thing, and that's conventions. If 2020 proved anything, it's that conventions are awful. But that's why we're going to do it, because we can't learn the lessons, apparently.
DJ.
Yeah, I was going to say that the convention disease is actually spread out beyond the Virginia Republican Party. The Texas Republican Party is, despite COVID, is going to do a convention in Houston in about a month or two, and I think that will also impact the choice, because the convention will be the anti-COVID choice, supposedly. The convention will be the anti-mail-in vote choice, supposedly. Those are all right up Trump's wheelhouse and right up Trump voters' wheelhouse. So yeah, Donald Trump may actually make a convention popular again among Virginia Republicans. But Brian is right. It's not going to help the party as a whole. It's going to make it easier for Amanda Chase to be the nominee, which I think she has the inside track to being anyway. And it will just be a reminder to the rest of Virginia voters that this party needs to be burned to the ground and its ashes need to be spread out somewhere in West Virginia.
So let's back it up a bit. If Amanda Chase is the front runner and has the inside track, it's early, obviously, as Brian said in the first segment, a lot of green on the billiard and putting green here before we get there. If she gets the nomination and through a convention or even primary, does she beat Jim Gilmore's 33.7 against Mark Warner in 2008?
No.
Yes.
7%.
What's
That's
that?
close.
What's that, Mike?
I think she'll get like 27%.
27. Matt?
This close, she manages to do better than Gilmore.
She beats the record. Chris?
Just that much.
Yeah, I don't know. It does seem to be a race to the bottom, so I don't think so.
Brian?
It'll be tight. She might get to 37, but that'll be the high water mark of that Confederacy. So.
Wow, called it a confederacy. Wow. Lynn, does she break?
Oh, come on.
I agree. I agree. It's not gonna. Yeah.
Does anyone think Amanda Chase breaks 40 in the general election?
No.
No.
No way.
No, I don't. You finally
We don't have enough base voters to do that. There's no
40
way.
people or 40%?
40%. I can guarantee it won't be 40 precincts.
No, there are simply not enough. There are not enough Confederate reenactors to get her to 40%.
All right, let's. Who would you prefer to see? Snyder, Carrico, Riggleman, Whitman, Hanger, Bowling, even Panit Aluwalia, who's thinking about running. Andrea, who's your preferred candidate? We'll just go around, one-word answer. Andrea?
Bowling for governor with Riggleman or Schneider for lieutenant.
DJ?
It's not my party, so it's not my place A.
Now, who do you want to battle for over a good philosophical battle, DJ?
I would.
Screwing around.
To be honest, among all of those people, frankly, the person most likely to keep my party honest on the things that matter to me, like fiscal and economic issues and such, would probably be Snyder. I mean, the rest of them all swallowed the big tax increases of the aughts and went along with them. And Snyder doesn't have that in his history. He would probably be the one most likely to keep us honest on the things that I think are important.
Mike?
Pete Snyder. No question about it.
Matt?
Bowling, but I would love to see Barbara Comstock actually jump in if she would ever consider, because I think she could be a tremendous asset.
Bill Bowling.
Merle?
Bowling 4 years ago. Next year, Hanger.
Okay. Lynn?
Well, I'm torn. Bowling and Hanger. I'm kind of in a tough spot there, but not. Yeah, I'm going to have to say two of them, Chris.
Okay, that's fine. That's legit. I mean, no one's held the one-word answer yet, so why should I hold you? I've known you the longest.
Sorry.
Crying out loud.
Sorry.
Brian?
Bowling, and if only because I want Rob Whitman to stay in the House.
There you go. Lieutenant Governor, anyone hearing anybody out there? I've heard Jason Miyares, Glenn Davis, potentially another run. Anybody else? Anybody care?
I care.
I know. Care. Andrea cares.
I've started hearing rumors about Tim Hugo looking at the lieutenant governor's race.
I've heard that as well. I've heard Tim
Waiting to
Hugo
hear
as well.
about from him.
He'll run. He'll raise money. There's no question
He'll
about
raise
it.
a ton of money. He's great at it.
Yeah.